We begin this hour with breaking news overnight. The looming strike at WestJet has been called off. The pilots and the airline have reached a tentative deal. But plenty of WestJet travelers may still be out of luck this long weekend. The airline and the pilots union announced their deal just before midnight Mountain Time. And that came just ahead of a planned walkout by pilots later today. WestJet had already canceled dozens of flights for the long weekend. Megan Fitzpatrick joins us live now from Toronto's Pearson Airport. Good to see you this morning on this, Megan. So as mentioned, some of those flights were already canceled. Let's start with the deal, though. What do we know about how they came together?
Well, both sides have put out statements, Jennifer, about the tentative agreement that was reached in the final minutes of negotiations ahead of that deadline. So let's start with what the union is saying. The Airline Pilots Association saying that the agreement that was reached goes a long way to recognizing the value and expertise that their pilots bring to the airline every day. This contract will also help solve many of WestJet's pilot attraction and retention issues. They go on to say that that will benefit everyone involved in the company, from the employees to passengers. They say that the deal that was reached delivers on the goals that they were trying to negotiate for. Those included higher compensation, more money, more flexible schedules, as well as allowing for a better work-life balance that they say would have been consistent with other collective agreements for other pilots with other airlines. Now, as for what the airline is saying, well, WestJet similarly saying it is pleased that a tentative agreement has been reached. Here's a bit more from a statement from the airline, saying the WestJet Group is pleased to have reached a tentative agreement that's industry leading within Canada and recognizes the important contributions of our valued pilots by providing meaningful improvements to job security and scope, working conditions and wages. It goes on to say that while they're pleased, they do recognize this had an impact on passengers, on our guests, and we sincerely appreciate their patience during this time. So an agreement reached at the negotiating table, Jennifer, but it still needs to be ratified by the union's members. So that is the next step in this process, and that's expected to happen in the coming days.
You are at Pearson, where things are going to get busy on this Friday ahead of a long weekend. What does this deal overnight mean for travelers?
Well, what the negotiations and the possible strike meant, as you mentioned earlier, were already canceled flights yesterday. In preparation of a possible strike, WestJet had preemptively started canceling flights, over 100 of them yesterday. So there's still going to be the trickle-down effect of those canceled flights yesterday. While some of the flights, though, are still leaving today as scheduled. I've been speaking to passengers here who are having mixed experiences, Jennifer. So a couple passengers saying everything's fine for them. Their flights are leaving as scheduled. I just spoke to another family of 6 that's trying to travel out west for a wedding. Their flight was canceled this morning. They weren't told why, so they're scrambling. Take a listen to what some of these passengers here are telling me.
I was a little worried that they were going to get canceled, but yeah, no, it seems like they're going to be fine. My empathy to those people that got their flights canceled, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation for everyone, right?
We're originally 8, and then they changed it to 9, and then they canceled that, and they put us on 10, and then an hour later we got another email that we're on May 20th at 6 p.m.
I'm very frustrated, very, very frustrated. It's not one bit fair to us, to anybody here.
So again, some passengers whose flights were canceled don't really know why, Jennifer, whether it had to do with the strike or some other reason. And some frustrated passengers I talked to said their flights were canceled yesterday. They spent hours and hours on hold on the phone, couldn't get a hold of anyone to get rebooked. One woman came here in person to try and get rebooked. So still a bit of a travel mess for some WestJet passengers. The airline is saying that they are going to ramp up their operations as quickly as possible, but full resumption could take some time, and as always, they're advising passengers to check their flight status before they come here to the airport.
You could hear the stress in the voices of those passengers. Megan, thank you for this. Megan Fitzpatrick at Toronto's Pearson Airport.